50,000 years ago, a boy is dying of a toothache. No painkiller, no surgeon. You'll watch a hole cut into a living skull, and the patient walk away. A man whose tattoos were medicine, not art. And what was hiding in this boy's teeth? This isn't the version where they gritted their teeth and endured. So how did they fight it? A tree. A blade. And one they never had to go looking for. The pain wakes him before the light does. It lives in his jaw now, a hot, blind, pulsing thing under one back tooth, where the bone has begun to rot and swell. He's maybe 15. He lies on his side in the dark of the cave, knees drawn up, and he does not move, because moving makes it worse, and everything makes it worse. Outside, the forest is waking. His people are stirring. Somewhere a child is crying, and he envies the child, because the child is allowed to. He has been like this for days. He has no word for abscess, no word for infection. He knows only that something inside his own head is trying to kill him, slowly, and that no one can see it, and that he cannot make it stop.
He has seen where this leads. He watched a man of his group die from a wound that began smaller than this. The fever, the wandering mind, the going still. He is 15, and he already understands that pain is not something you are promised to survive. But he is not going to lie here and simply suffer. His people are not going to let him. And what they are about to do for him will still be there, provable, unmistakable, 50,000 years from now, locked in his teeth, waiting for someone to find it. This is his story, but it is really a much older one.
Because the boy is about to be treated, genuinely treated, in a world that supposedly had no medicine at all. And what saves him is the same thing that ran quietly beneath the whole of the human past, a knowledge of how to fight pain that we have spent the last 100 years insisting our ancestors never had. To see how deep it goes, we have to follow that knowledge into 3 places. Into a forest, where the cure for his agony is growing on a tree. Into the open air, where someone is about to cut a hole in a living skull and walk the patient home. And finally, into the skull itself, to the strangest painkiller of all, the one no one gathered or grew or carved, the one that was already there. It starts with an old woman and a strip of bark.
She has done this before, many times. She is the oldest in the group, and old here means something. It means she has survived everything that killed the others, and remembered how. When they bring her to the boy, she does not panic. She looks at the swelling, she smells his breath, and she knows exactly which tree to go to. It is the willow by the water, or the poplar. Either will do, though she does not know why, only that both work. She strips a length of the soft inner bark, and she carries it back, and she makes the boy chew it. It is bitter. He gags on it. She makes him keep chewing. She does not leave him. She sits and she watches his face, the way you watch someone you have decided not to lose. And slowly, across the long afternoon, something in the boy changes. The pounding does not vanish, but it loosens. It steps back just far enough that he can breathe around it, far enough to let his shoulders down for the first time in days. And here is the thing she cannot know, and does not need to. Inside that bark is a molecule called salicin. As he chews, his own body is turning it into salicylic acid, a compound that dulls pain and drives down the swelling around his tooth. It is the chemical ancestor of the drug we call aspirin, the same relief from the same source that you would reach for tonight.
She did not read that anywhere. No one did. Her people learned it the way all of this was learned. Someone, once, in pain, chewed the bitter bark, felt the ache pull back, and told the others. And it was remembered, across generations, across 100,000 years. And it was not only the willow.
Far to the south and far in the future, other people will find a flower that does not merely dull pain, but drowns it, the opium poppy. The first farmers will call it the joy plant. They will grow it in tended rows, learn to score the ripening pods and gather the sap that weeps out. And that sap will one day be refined into morphine, the strongest painkiller medicine has ever had. They cannot know the chemistry. They know only that a person in unbearable pain, given this, goes quiet and rests. And others still, in the mountains of another continent, will chew a bright green leaf that numbs the mouth and the mind, carrying, without a single word for it, the ancestor of the first anesthetic that would ever make surgery survivable. All of them, reaching into the living world and pulling out relief. All of them, right. The boy sleeps that night. The bark has bought him that much. But bark has a limit. It can quiet a fever. It can soften an ache. What it cannot do is reach inside a skull that a falling rock or a club has caved in. And somewhere, in a place much like this one, a person hurt in exactly that way is about to meet a different kind of help. The kind that comes with a blade. We have this backwards, all of us. We picture these people as the ones history happened to, the hunted, the hurt, the ones who waited to heal or die. Some of them were the healers. Long before cities, before writing, before a single word was ever carved into stone, someone knelt beside a person whose skull was broken, whose brain was swelling against the bone, who was screaming, or worse, going quiet. And that someone made a choice that should not have been possible. Not to wait, to open the skull, on purpose, and let the pressure out. We have a name for it now. Trepanation, the oldest surgery on Earth. And for 150 years, everyone who dug up those old skulls asked the same question. Measured, sincere, never theatrical. The pauses carry the emotion, not the volume. Did the patient ever walk away? Watch it happen. The man is awake. There is no drug here strong enough to take him all the way under, so they give him what they have. Bark to chew, a leaf to numb him, something fermented if they have it, and then hands, many hands, holding him down, because this is going to take a long time, and he cannot be allowed to move. Everyone here knows what is at stake. They have seen the alternative, a person with a head wound like his, swelling, slipping away, and nothing anyone could do but watch. So they have chosen the terrifying thing over the certain one, the blade over the grave. The one man, one voice, from the first word to the last, never changing. A man speaking in his own natural voice, relaxed and clear, unmistakably male. The operator does not stab. That would kill him. She scrapes, slow, patient, circling the same groove in the bone again and again, thinning it, watching, careful past all telling not to break through into the soft membrane just beneath. The man makes sounds no one will want to remember. The circle deepens, and at last a disc of bone lifts free. The pressure inside his head eases, and the thing that was killing him lets go. They pack the wound, they cover it, and then they do the hardest part of all. They wait. Days pass. His fever climbs and breaks. He wakes. He knows their faces. He speaks. And in the weeks that follow, against everything that should have happened on that ground, with that blade, he does not die. He heals. Now, here is how we know. Bone tells the truth. When a person dies on the table, the cut edge of the skull stays sharp forever, raw, unhealed, frozen at the moment of death. But when a person survives, the bone begins to grow. The edges soften. They round over. New bone creeps in to close the wound, over months, over years. And when we dig these people up, across Neolithic Europe, where in some places as many as 1 in 10 skulls carries a hole, the bone has grown back again and again. And again. They lived. Most of them lived. At some sites in France, 70 to 80% of them healed. In ancient Peru, where the practice reached its peak, survival climbed as high as 80% and higher.
Now set that beside this. In the finest hospitals of Europe in the 1800s, with steel, with trained surgeons, with real anatomy, opening a skull killed 9 patients in 10. Infection took almost everyone. So a person with a sharpened stone, no anesthetic, and no idea that germs even existed was carrying patients through brain surgery better than a Victorian hospital could. That is not luck. That is a craft, learned, refined, and handed down, hand to hand across more generations than we can count, by people we decided had no medicine at all. And it did not stop at the blade.
Roll forward. 5,000 years ago, an old man is climbing a mountain in the Alps, and he is in pain with every step. His knees are worn, his ankles ache, his lower back has been failing him for years, and under his skin, 61 times over, he carries small, dark marks, lines and crosses rubbed into little cuts with charcoal by someone trying to help him. Picture the day one was made. The old man holds still while a healer opens a shallow cut in his skin, just over the worst of the ache, and works dark ash down into it, and then moves to the next spot and the next. It would have hurt. He let them do it anyway, because on the far side of that small, deliberate pain was the hope of relief from the larger one that never left him.
They are not decoration. Look where they sit. Over the bad knee, over the worn ankle, along the aching spine. Someone mapped this man's pain onto his own body and worked the marks in, over and over, exactly on the points a healer thousands of years later would press to treat those same aches. He will die up there and freeze and keep every one of those marks for 5,000 years, until 2 hikers find him in 1991. We call him Ötzi. But we are getting ahead of the boy in the cave, and the thing in his teeth. It is time to go back to him, and to tell you the truth about all of this. None of what you have just seen was invented.
I did not make up the boy. He was real. His cave is called El Sidrón in northern Spain, and he was not one of us, not Homo sapiens. He was a Neanderthal. One of that other kind of human we spent a century calling stupid and brutish and less. We found him. We found his teeth. And when researchers scraped the hardened plaque from them and read the DNA locked inside, the plaque remembered what he had chewed in his pain. Poplar, the bark that carries salicylic acid, the aspirin molecule, in the mouth of a sick teenager 50,000 years ago.
He was dosing himself, exactly as you would. There was even a trace of penicillium in there, the mold behind the world's first antibiotic, though whether he meant to take that one, we honestly can't say. But the poplar was no accident. That relief was chosen, on purpose, by a member of a species we were certain had nothing. And that is the payoff, and it is so much bigger than one boy, because it means the will to fight pain, to reach into the world and find the thing that answers it, is not a human invention. It is not even our species. It was already whole, already working in a Neanderthal child, before our kind had walked out of Africa. Sit with what that means. Not a human like us, a different kind of human altogether, on a branch of the family that would not survive. And still, that deep in time, he knew to answer his pain with the bark of a tree. The impulse is not ours. We are only the latest to carry it. We did not invent medicine. We inherited it. And the last piece is the strangest of all, because it was never in a tree, or a poppy, or a blade. When the old woman chanted over the boy, when any healer, anywhere, laid on hands and told a suffering person that they would be well, something real happened inside that person's body, the brain makes its own painkillers, its own opioids, stronger dose for dose than morphine. And they are released not only by injury, but by belief, by ritual, by the certainty that help has finally come. Think of the boy again, in the dark, with the old woman's voice low over him, her hands on his swollen jaw, her certainty filling the small space, telling him, in words or in song, that he is being cared for, that this will pass. To us, that can sound like superstition dressed up as help, but in his body, it was chemistry. The voice, the touch, the belief, they opened a door, and his own opioids walked through it, and the pain measurably eased. We know it is real because we can switch it off, block those opioid receptors with a drug, and the relief of belief alone weakens or vanishes. The chant was not decoration wrapped around the medicine. Sometimes the chant was the medicine. We call it the placebo effect now, and we say it like it's a trick. They knew better. So here is the truth the boy's teeth were keeping for us. We tell a story in which medicine is new, in which before the pill and the hospital, there was only darkness and suffering, and people too primitive to help themselves. That story is a comfort, and it is a lie. Everything in your medicine cabinet is an echo of them. The aspirin is her strip of willow bark. The morphine is the joy plant. The reason a sugar pill can still dull a real pain is the healer's chant, working in your body exactly as it worked in his, 50,000 years on. The boy did not have less than you. He had the beginning of everything you have. His people ran the longest experiment in the history of the world, with their own bodies, in the dark, across 100,000 years of pain. And they never wrote it down, because they never needed to. They wrote it into memory, into the healed bone of a skull, into the ink under an old man's skin, into the plaque on a sick child's tooth, where it waited, patiently, for us to grow clever enough to read it. Pain has not changed. What tortured that boy would torture you in exactly the same way tonight. The only thing that changed is that we forgot how much he already knew, and told ourselves the story began with us. It didn't. It began with a hurting child in the dark, and an old woman who knew which tree to go to. It began with someone deciding, against all of it, not to simply suffer, but to help. That is the oldest medicine there is, and it is the one thing about them that is exactly, unbrokenly, the same as you. If this one stayed with you, if the boy stayed with you, then stay with the channel. We go back to the ancient humans in every video, and there is always more of them, and more of us in them, than you would ever think.